In this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the concerns that can arise in terms of control and security when using a social network and the internet to teach literacy in a classroom environment, as well as a brief sort of note on the referencing problems that can arise when you're attempting to use professional level references within a video or different modality that's going to be outside of the traditional print method, in which we have the APA format, MLA, all sorts of formats like that. Now, to begin with, in terms of control and security, the thing that you need to keep in mind is that the social network that you choose to use will also be your best control method in terms of security. It will be able to control who actually can be involved with that particular social network, who can add to the social network, and who can actually view it. So for social networks like Facebook, Twitter, Google+, those are not going to be practical in a classroom situation in most instances, because they simply have far too many issues in terms of security, as well as a lack of control by a teacher who, in terms of what actually is going to be posted, presented, and involved with those social networks. Now, it's not saying that they should never or can never be used in a classroom situation. However, they need to be used in a very specific environment in which you want the very much open, free-range speech that will not necessarily have as many censorships on the self or the kind of professional level quality that you may be looking for in terms of an actual presentation or an assignment. On the other hand, if you take a look at things like wikis, like the one this will be in, VoiceThread, blogs, XtraNormal, all of those have a great deal more control in terms of what will actually be posted and used by the teacher, simply due to the way they're set up. For example, the wiki such as the one I'm going to be using for my presentation, I am using for my presentation here, will have a lot more control in terms of the content that's actually posted, because you, the teacher, can act as a moderator, I should say, would be the best word, in terms of what actually becomes posted. You can set up the controls on your wiki to have every article that gets posted be reviewed and moderated by you. So nothing is actually going to be posted that is inappropriate by the students or by anyone else who happens to manage to gain access to the wiki, if they manage to slip in under your controls without you allowing it. That's one of the nicest control features in terms of a wiki. You can lock pages to prevent them from being edited, you can open them up, you can control who's going to be involved with actually editing or working on a wiki. You have a lot of control in that manner. Similar thing can arise with blogs, simply due to whether or not it is going to be a class blog or you set up a blog reel for the class. You're able to monitor what is being posted. You can actually set some blogs up, including blog reels, that also are moderated. However, the blog does not necessarily allow you to actually moderate what is going to be posted. You can, if you do a blog reel in which you have a blog for every student in class, then you create the situation where they are going to have some control, which is nice for giving them agency. Wiki also has that, but a wiki also gives you a bit more control and security in terms of you can expressly allow who will be involved with that. Blogs, now you're not necessarily going to have any issues with anyone outside of the students who would have their own personal passwords and security codes to actually access the editing of the blog, but you can have people come in and comment who might not necessarily be in the classroom environment, which is why you need to pick a very specific blog system such as EduBlogs, which will give you a little bit more control, in which only people who are actually registered on EduBlogs can typically go in and actually make comments. That isn't always the case, however. When it comes to things like VoiceThread, this is something that normally is not going to be found outside the classroom environment, and you will be able to keep the URL, so the link itself, very selective to your class. So you won't actually need to have outside people coming in or encounter many outside people coming in and actually working on this without you having given them the URL, because it's not going to be a widely open post which anyone can view. Something similar goes along with XtraNormal, at least during the creation process itself. Since it's a text-to-speech program, which you type out on the computer, and whatever you type is changed into speech, This will allow you to actually watch them progress in a classroom environment and actually be able to track what they're doing, because it auditorily comes back when they're testing the video in terms of what's actually going to be there. Outside of the school scenario, if they want to use these programs, of course you're not going to have the same level of control. But when it comes to the projects themselves, you're going to be able to moderate what exactly is happening, and since they're going to be submitting them, you know that they're not going to be posting inappropriate things unless they want ramifications from you, the teacher, in the process. On the other hand, there's one concern in terms of security, and that is outside people coming in. This is where things like Extra Normal, YouTube, fanfiction.net, other things that are going to be out there that aren't going to have the express control of who's actually involved, which can create a scenario in which someone outside the class can come in and make a comment. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing, but if you want to have strict controls and strict insurance that there's going to be nobody actually involved outside of your class itself, you want to be restrictive in terms of who is actually allowed in, which is why the wiki and the blog are probably going to be some of the best things to get your class involved with in terms of social networks. VoiceThread is also a fairly valid option, as well as a few others that are going to be out there, but the wiki and the blog are probably going to be your best bet in terms of control to ensure people outside of your classroom aren't actually going to be coming in and getting involved or commenting on your students' work, which is not what you want to have happening in a social network literacy environment, unless that's your express goal if you decide to use Facebook or the like. Now, in terms of referencing in these scenarios, if you're trying to keep a professional level quality, such as if you're using these in high school and you wish to have them reference what they're doing for, let's say, a video essay or a paper in which they're doing things other than strictly print, you need to be addressing how you can actually have the references go through. Now, if you think about it, there's 3 ways which would be the most practical for doing this. One is which they simply quote on the video the name of the author, and then you do a traditional bibliography below, or else on an attached file, in which you're able to reference the articles themselves, which is a fairly practical way to do it and keeps them at a professional standard. Another way that you can do this is you can do an in-video time coding. Now, this is probably going to be a bit more lengthy process and is something that is going to be optional. It should remain a bit optional, but it would mean that the students would have to make sure they time code when they're doing a specific reference from each article, and then have the time codes listed with their bibliography in terms of when they're making those references. That is another valid way to actually do this. The third route is something that is going to be available if they have the either video editing software or the time to actually go through on YouTube to take a look at this. It is in video referencing through screen captions. For example, I could place a caption here or here in the empty space, sort of, on my video, thanks to the lovely beige wall behind myself, and I could actually put in these sort of typical APA or MLA format citation in either of those locations. And if you keep it consistent, you'll be able to actually cite what you're referencing in video and keep with their bibliography after the fact, which will allow a student a lot of flexibility with that regards. Alternatively, if they're well versed in video editing software, they'll actually be able to do a scrolling bibliography afterwards as a kind of credits to the video itself, which can solve some of the issues if you're trying to keep professional level quality of referencing in a video. Hopefully this has given you a bit more ideas in terms of control and security, as well as how you can get referencing at a professional level, or at least a level in which you're expecting them to maintain in a high school or university environment. But again, the control is going to be the level that you, the moderator, the teacher, design it to be. And you need to keep in mind whenever you're going to be doing a classroom project that involves social networks, and you want to be making sure that they understand what is going to be involved, and that it would even be recommended that you get a classroom contract that has them agree upon what's going to be done. And this will allow them to remain on track, keep them safe, as well as keep other people who you do not want involved outside of the process of actually using social networks in a literate environment.